Make me a mod, I can just make it a stage. You can just put a stage channel in there.
Okay.
No, I have to reset the way that I selected instead of the community selection, I selected the friends and family selection, and it's a whole thing. So
Oh damn.
yeah,
But I wanted to ask this question. So like, the reason when I say is there a time limit, I mean like I assume there's going to be an opening statement, and then I assume we're going to have like free discussion and then a closing statement. I was just asking how long is like free discussion going to be?
well, I would say probably until we get to the point where most people feel like they can make a judgment decision.
And Liam, just remember, if you're losing, just like slur. Okay.
Can I just get okay? Well, I do need to eat, so if we could get a hard cap at like an hour for free discussion, that'd be cool.
Okay, yeah, and I would like if people have like at least 10 minutes to ask some questions of each of you at the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be over in 10 minutes anyway.
Common
capitalism W. Common
Wait,
capitalism.
maybe Liam can pay me back.
Okay.
With the 50.
Okay. I'll just do my opening statement. Everyone ready?
Hold up, real quick. Everybody mute except for Divinity and Sinthe.
Okay. Okay.
And your opening statements can start right now. Go.
Okay, cool. So I think capitalism is the most moral system. I think it's the most moral system because it's best conducive towards human flourishing. Capitalism recognizes the principle of individual rights. I think because of our volitional nature, I think our life is ultimately self-directed. And I think each person has a responsibility towards their self-direction. Individual rights and capitalism is going to allow you the freedom to direct your life while being minimally consistent with respecting other people's self-direction. So because of that, it's going to be the most moral system.
Cool. I guess my opening statement, I'll just, so just to get some clarity on the proposition to make sure that nobody is confused, the proposition in question is capitalism. Capitalism is not moral, with me arguing it isn't, Liam arguing it is. Obviously, we can define capitalism as when you give to charity and moral as when you give money away, but that wouldn't really capture what's meant by the prop. So I think it's important to note that we're not trying to get at what is moral in some like idiosyncratic sense, or what is capitalism in some idiosyncratic sense. What we're trying to get at is capitalism, the system that we described with that, in which you do not have a democratic economy, in the sense that I would use the term democratic, right? Is that the kind of thing which is not moral? And I think that Liam brings up a great thing to talk about, which is it most productive towards human or is it most conducive towards human flourishing? I think it's conducive towards human extinction. Under capitalism, automation is something that is incentivized, obviously, for the fact that it makes it easier to produce more things cheaply, and this is generally a good thing. But in the case of things like AGI, this ends up being a highly negative thing, which will likely lead to human extinction if it isn't the case that the AGI ends up being controlled by people democratically. Obviously, if your means of production are controlled by a small elite group, then when new means of production are created, when new automation is created, is also controlled by a small elite group. If it's the case, the small elite group who owns the most in society is the one who creates AGI on day one. It's the case that AGI's interests will be aligned to their interest. I think instead the AGI's interest to be aligned democratically to all of us overall. Another issue with automation ends up being the fact that as you have more and more automation, you end up having these investment crises. This is what's called the tendency for the rate of profit to fall. All of these lead to capitalism being an unsustainable system purely on the basis of automation, but also on the basis of the other issues that you see with capitalism, like, for example, the way it impacts climate change, and the way it impacts the flow of information, all lead to kind of things that are not going to be the kind of things that are conducive towards human flourishing. That's my opening statement, if Divinity wants to get right into it.
Okay, cool. What do you think the standard? I mean, do you disagree with my standard for a moral society? Or a moral
do I disagree with your? I don't think that. So I don't think that your standard is describing a standard for a moral society. I think that it's just a definition. But I don't think a definition is something you can disagree or agree with. Or at least on my view, it isn't propositional.
Okay, sure, but like when I'm saying, if we look at a society, let's say we're both talking about this common concept of like this is a moral society. Are you also agreeing that a moral society is a society conducive towards human flourishing?
I think that a moral society would generally, in most cases, be conducive towards human flourishing. I could imagine some hypothetical scenario in which it would be immoral, like if all of humanity was, if all of humanity, by virtue of like one person flourishing, had to be tortured, or we had to have no humanity at all. Obviously, the one with less human flourishing would be the better one there because there would be no torture, no mass torture of the rest of the population.
Okay. So one of the things I think about when we're thinking about whether or not a society is moral, we're analyzing it, is the conceptual preconditions of said society. So like, if we're looking at two societies, and one of the societies implements the precondition for individuals flourishing, that's going to be better than a society that, even if it didn't have that precondition, let's say like by some weird way, they would somehow produce more utility. I don't think that's going to be as moral of a society because it doesn't have like a minimal respect for freedom. It doesn't have a minimal respect for autonomy. Would you agree?
So I don't think so. I think that there are conditions where it might be the case that counterintuitively, the better society ends up not being one that has these preconditions. And I think in the case of capitalism, it's very clear that it isn't the kind of thing that produces the most human flourishing. In fact, it produces a high chance of human extinction.
Okay, we can talk about the consequences of capitalism in a second. So, like, when I'm thinking about a moral society, I'm thinking about moral in the sense like morality does not primarily begin to get analyzed at the political level. Or like I think because morality is this guide to how you should live, it's going to be concerned particularly with an agent acting, and then after that we can talk about like society as a group of individuals acting. So moral society in that sense is going to mean each individual is going to have the precondition to live morally. Because if we agree that there are things that an individual can do which are morally good, right? It makes sense that we're gonna protect the ability to do moral things.
Yeah. So but what you're saying when you say moral things is not what the average person means when they say moral, right? Like if I ask you something like definitionally, is it the case that there is something? Is it the case that it's totally morally acceptable so long as somebody wants to do it to rape a brain dead baby? Your answer to that question would be yes.
Wait, sorry, what?
Yeah, on your definition of moral, if somebody wanted to rape a brain dead baby, your answer to that is that moral would be yes.
If they wanted to rape a brain dead baby?
Yep, if they want to in their basement, nobody would find out.
I think in most cases it's immoral.
Because most people don't want to, yeah. But if a person wanted to, there would be cases where it is.
Well, even if somebody had like a hedonistic pleasure, I mean, I can talk about the morality of like when or when not to engage in sexual relations, but like that doesn't really. That's like it's kind of a pivot away from the main issue. The main issue is that
the point of that wasn't to pivot into.
Matter.
Can I clarify why I brought it up? Just to clarify. So the point is not to pivot into this discussion. It was just to make it clear to you that your definition of moral is not the common definition. You use an idiosyncratic one, and that's fine. I don't think there's anything that's wrong about a definition. It's just that what we're talking about when we ask is capitalism moral is not, is it the case that it maximizes, or is it the case that any individual is able to maximize their own preferences or anything along those lines? What we're asking when we say, is capitalism moral, is going to mean that certain things, like, for example, the rape of brain dead babies, the torture of dogs, the letting your kids in a snowstorm die, all of these things will be things which are immoral to the average person. What they mean by moral would include certain emissions, and to you, no emission is going to be immoral. Like, only acts are immoral, emissions are not. And so you're just using the term moral in an idiosyncratic way.
Sorry, emissions?
Omission.
Okay, wait, why do you think that when I use the word moral, omission, like omissions of certain actions aren't immoral?
Well, yeah, so the act-omission distinction, right? So in the case of like an action, you think those can be immoral, but for you, an omission can't be. It's the, you think that it's the case that, because on your view, it's the case that the action of doing something is what makes something immoral, but the non-doing of an action is not. The lack of fulfillment of your duty ends up being immoral because of the fact that you did an action earlier.
What about what I've said about morality makes you think that I don't think evasions are of like a certain course of action or like neglect of certain like paths you go down aren't immoral?
Well, because I've talked to you in the past, and this is the kind of the position you held to. So, for example, I could give you the bullet you bit on abortion. You said that like if it's the case that somebody leaves their kid out in a snowstorm, right? If they're out in like a wooded area, there's nobody else around to take care of the kid.
Are you talking about what would be politically?
No, I'm talking what you're talking about when you say moral. So if somebody leaves their kid out in a snowstorm, you think that's something which to you is morally acceptable because it's an omission.
I can think of cases which it is morally acceptable, but that's not my view. I think that like my whole standard for whether or not you're behaving morally or not is like being moral means to be like rational, do things which are conducive to your life. I consider evading certain things which are
rational, and what was the second thing?
Conducive for your life.
So if something is rational but not conducive towards your life, would that be moral to do?
I said I consider like both those things in conjunction are what makes something moral.
Yeah, I agree. It's a conjunction. So if one of those has failed, then you wouldn't be doing something moral.
Yeah.
So if something is rational but bad for your life.
Yeah, but I'm saying things that are rational are good for your life. No, but I'm saying like those two things express the same fact. Things that are rational are good for your life.
So here's another example where you and the average person have a different definition of morals. I'll give you an example. So if I say something,
that's fine.
Yeah, hold on, just a moment. Let me finish. Well, just a moment. Let me finish. Well, hold on. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence. Just a moment, Divinity. Liam. Let me finish my sentence.
You're gonna make the idiosyncratic thing. That's
fine. Let me finish my sentence, and I'll give you. Let me finish my sentence. I'll pass it right back over to you. Okay. So what I'm saying is just that. You interrupted me just there, right? So I'm just.
Asking a question in the middle of
I didn't ask you.
then you now
look,
you're
just a
shotgunning
moment.
this.
Can I get a finish?
Hold on. Everybody, hold on a second, okay? So Synth was in the middle of a statement, but Divinity, if you want to offer clarity to what you were stating beforehand, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's going to materially change Synth's statement.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So, like, it's not my view that an evasion or an omission of a particular action isn't immoral, right? Like, I think that, like, for example, neglect is immoral. Now, whether or not it's going to be politically permissible to engage in like non-actions with certain people, that's a different question. But, like, for example, if I have like a friend, right, and I don't tend to that friendship and I tend to other shit, but that friendship's actually more beneficial to me than the thing I'm tending to, I will consider that immoral, right? Because it's an evasion of something which is good for me.
Okay, so back to what I was going to say, right? Because I don't think I added clarity on what I was going to say here. But what I'm asking, what I give you as an example is like if the average person were to say something like, "Would you be willing to sacrifice your life for the good of the rest of the world?" Then in the case of that person, they would say like, "Well, of course that's good to do, right? That's not immoral to do." But you would say if it's the case that it's bad for your life and good for everyone else's, it would be bad to do. So a case of like if it was good for your life to neglect your child, it'd be rational to do in your view, and thus it'd be moral to do in your view. So this is just, once again, like you did say it, right? This is the idiosyncratic thing. You're just not talking about the same thing that other people are talking about.
Okay, yeah, I use a definition that's not held by the folk, or an understanding or a kind of morality that's not held by the folk. Yeah, I want to clarify that's not, that's the hypothetical is just like a hypothetical. It's not represented in my view. I don't think it's moral to neglect children.
If it were good for your life, would it be good to neglect children?
Like if it was good, yeah, but I don't think it's good. I just want to clarify, yeah.
So
I don't
neglecting,
think the antecedents met.
Let's say that a person is like, they're relatively cold dispositionally, right? They're not the kind of person who's going to be like heartbroken over the death of their child, but they'll be somewhat displeased. Just not heartbroken. They had to choose either to save their child or, so hold on, they have to choose to either save their child or to save themselves. To you, it would be immoral if they chose to save their child, correct?
Oh wait, yeah. If the hypothetical is like a life or death imperative between you and your child, then yeah, obviously whichever one you care more about, you're gonna do. That's not moral. What? Yeah.
So it would be immoral to instead act in the interest of the child.
That's like a completely different thing than you insinuate. Like the original thing was like, oh, what if I neglected my child and it was life affirming? Like that was the way we originally.
No, you're neglecting your child because of the fact that it saves your life, right? In this scenario, it's the case that you like. We're not talking about a person who's like going to be a person who's like, oh my god, I'm like I want to kill myself. Now, hold on, stop, Liam. Let's add some clarity.
I'm agreeing. You don't have to clarify.
Okay, well, hold on. The other people are listening too, and I do have to clarify. So, if it's the case that it's good for your life to neglect your child, it would be moral for you to do it.
Such a non sequitur.
So non sequitur.
It is a non sequitur because we're getting back to the point is that like, look, you're just like, oh, you're using this like idiosyncratic whatever definition of morality.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course I am. That's fine. And you said you had no issue. That's fine. So when we're
I don't think there's anything untrue about using a definition, but I do have an issue with it if that's what you're saying the prop describes. The proposition does not describe your specific view on morality. It's not describing what does divinity think morality is.
No. Actually, so whenever you have a proposition, right, the burden of proof or the onus of proof is going to be met by the person who's affirming the proposition. So obviously, if I affirm the proposition and I define to you what the proposition, like the proposition's content and the affirmation of the content, then yeah, I'm like the person who meets the burden of proof sets what the proposition's referring to.
That's not true. So if that was the case, then what you could do is you could just come into the debate. You could say capitalism is when you give to charity and moral is when you give money away, and then you just be like correct. And I wouldn't disagree with you. You could just define something which is like which is true by virtue of which is just true analytically. And then there would be no debate to be had. What you have to do is show that capitalism is not moral. That statement, when the average person understands what your statement is saying, right, that what you're saying there is true, not just if I change all of the word definitions to be something proprietary, then it becomes true. That's the approach you want to go with, which is why I preempted that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
It's the classic objectivist strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So look, the objectivist definition of morality doesn't exist in a vacuum, independent of the folk. Right? Like when the folk are talking about morality, they're in essence referring to the same essential thing, or referring to a code of values that are going to guide your action. Right? We're talking about the same thing. I have a different account of the nature of morality, right? Like I have different conclusions about what is moral than other people. Yeah, moral disagreement exists. So when I'm saying capitalism is moral, right, that means that me and the folk are getting at the same essential concept. But of course, I have a different account of morality than they do. Yeah, okay, yes, it is true. So like,
I can clarify why that's not true. So you have a different definition. So you're not just getting a different. Yeah, you have a different definition of morality, right? It's not just the case that you disagree on facts about morality.
That's not true, right? Like I think when I'm talking about morality, I'm talking about a code of values that's going to guide your life. It's going to be a theory of what's good, what's bad, all that other shit.
So something is morality if and only if it's a code of values that prescribes actions for your life.
Yeah, so that's what a morality is.
Okay, so then utilitarianism would be moral.
Utilitarianism is a morality.
It's a morality, and thus actions are moral if they correspond to morality.
If they correspond to a particular moral theory, right? Like when we're asking the proposition, is capitalism moral? That's gonna, it's like what the burdens.
Why is
I'm explaining. Wait, don't interrupt me.
Okay,
Like,
you don't even know what the question is. Are you explaining the answer? Go ahead.
Yeah, I will go ahead. So look, the question we're asking is capitalism moral? Look, when I'm answering the question, is it moral? I'm gonna first say, look, here's the account of morality I'm going to defend when we refer to the codes of values we should live our life by. I'll defend this particular code, and then after defending that particular code, I'm gonna explain how capitalism corresponds to said code.
Yeah, this is a Mott and Bailey now. Right? You're moving away from like morals are defined as something which is
real quick, guys. In order for us to get past this point, let's just offer like a moral statement that is directly applicable to, or a proposition that's directly applicable to like what the example or the use case that you're trying to portray, Sinthe, and then we can just have the crowd vote on whether or not they would agree with that proposition being moral or immoral.
Absolutely. You're asking me to provide you with an economic system.
Some kind of like I don't know. I guess reductio that you believe, and as long as Liam agrees that reductio fits, there's like not a symmetry breaker, and what you're trying to foreshadow with your argument, then we're going to vote on it in the chat.
Sure. Yeah. So the reductio on the view is just that if something on Liam's view, moral means it's rational and good for your life, it must be both, and rational is the same as good for your life. And the reductio is just if it were good for your survival to neglect your child, it'd be moral to do. Or if it was even good? A crazy one, if it was good for your life to kill millions of children, it would be good to do.
Wait, yeah, if it was good. Wait, nobody's gonna disagree with if it was good, right? Like, for example, I could do this without.
That's not what I said.
No, yeah, wait, here's the thing, okay? So
that's not what I said.
Hold on, wait, yeah. So look, it's
let
very.
Liam go.
Yeah, this is actually saying nothing, right? Because what I can just do is I can take any moral system that has ever existed. I can get all of the antecedents, right, that are required to make something good, and I'll be like, what if raping 3,000 children was actually conducive to all these antecedents? And you'll be like, what the fuck, dude? This moral system's so crazy, right? But that doesn't actually mean that the moral system is.
You're not really engaging with anything I just said.
Yeah, you're after me. Look, that doesn't actually mean that the moral system's engaging or endorsing the rape, right? You're just like, oh my god, what if all these antecedents were met? When you actually analyze this question factually, yeah, if it is the case that all those things are present in a scenario, of course I'm going to say yes. But the fact of the matter is those things aren't present, which is why I think they're wrong. They're morally evil. So that the question you're asking doesn't matter. It's not a reductio.
This is just running away from the question. So the question was if it was the case that it was good for your.
When you say the moral antecedents, what do you mean by that?
Just in the case of if X, then Y, X is the antecedent.
All of the like supposedly a normative theory or moral theory is going to be like, if certain things are the case, then this action's good. Like if it promotes utility, if it's conducive to your life, if you have good intentions and stuff like that, right? Like I could just take every theory, I could just plug in all the different possible antecedents into this like question and be like, oh, if all these things are met, it's good, right?
Yeah, you haven't actually answered the question though. So the bullet to bite was, if it is the case that it's good for your survival to kill millions of children, then it would be morally good to do.
If it was good, yeah, if it was good, I agree, yes.
If it was good for your survival.
Yeah, if it was good for your life, yeah.
Yes, not the case that is it good, is it...
That's the reductio, we're going to vote on that. Okay?
If it's good for your life, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when we say good for your life, we're not saying something like is it the case that it's like utility maximizing for your life. We're saying is it the case that it allows you to live your life better? Does it allow you to live your life more aptly, more proficiently?
Well, no. When I'm talking about is it good for your life, like are you living qua your nature? Like are you living properly as your nature defines it? Like are you being consistent with the requirements of your nature? Yeah, all that shit.
All of that shit, meaning that if somebody were a sociopath and they didn't feel bad when their kid died, they would be living in accordance with their nature.
No, again, I've already.
But you did bite the bullet.
No, I already explained that's not the case. I don't think that sociopaths should neglect.
Then we need to get clear on this. We need to get clear on this, right? So hold on.
We already went down this line of logic.
Hold on, Liam, relax, chill out, right? So
I'm chill.
Just hold on, right? Just hold on. So if it's the case, right? Because we didn't actually go down any line of logic. Every time we do, you start like pivoting and weaseling away. But what I'm trying to ask you is stop. Hold on. What I'm trying to figure out, right? Is hold on, Liam, relax, right? You're doing it again.
No, you're doing it.
All right, I'm going to try to avoid anything that even resembles an ad hom. Right, I don't want to do anything like that. Just hold on, Liam. Stop.
Let her talk.
Just a second.
I'm not gonna let her ad hom. But go ahead.
Yeah, the point. Yeah, I don't intend to ad hom Liam here. I'm just trying to point out I'm just trying to point out like the rhetorical approach. The issue that I'm holding here, though, Liam, is if it's the case that when you say something is rational and good for your life, what you mean by good for your life is in accordance with your nature now, but we were able to give a reductio earlier in regards to somebody who is in a log cabin in the room, and either they have to choose to throw their kid out in the snow, right? Or it's the case that they'll kind of like suffer and be miserable in the log cabin. You would say the morally good action is to throw their kid out in the snow and let the kid die.
Wait, you said you gave this example to me today?
No, I've given you this example to you in the past. You put the bullet on it.
Okay, wait, so just to clarify, the example you gave me was if someone's in a log cabin with a child they took there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Child they took there, someone they took responsibility for. Oh no, they can't do that. They'd be going against the,
Nope.
like the. They'd be
No,
going
they didn't
against
take
the obligation
responsibility
they're
for
already-
it. They didn't take responsibility for it. They got somebody else get them pregnant, right? They like maybe they were let's say they were a rape victim even. They didn't take any responsibility. They didn't even consent, right? But the kid's born. It's in the log cabin with them.
What the fuck? Okay,
What
so
the
the
don't say
example-
what the fuck.
example-
Don't be
wait,
like
wait, yeah,
upset. Just engage with the hypothetical.
Stop interrupting it. Like, so I'm gonna make a quick
Grant you interruption.
comment on the rhetoric, right? And then I'm gonna explain to you why this example doesn't matter. Okay, so the first thing is this: like, obviously, the strategy you go down is you're gonna try to paint like what I'm saying as nonsense, and what you're gonna do.
Just please
is you're
engage.
gonna leave- Yeah, you do this shit every time. Look, and I'm just gonna point it out so we can point. I can reference this. I don't have to make the same fucking explanation every time. What happens is you're gonna make a comment about me disengaging, me pivoting, and then you're gonna immediately go
doing it now.
into a critique. Yeah, and then you're gonna immediately go into a critique. And then when I address the comment you made earlier, which tries to siphon all the credibility of what I'm saying, you're gonna be like, oh, stop running. So look,
You're doing
you
it
can
right
just
now.
completely- Yeah, so look, for further notice, right? Don't make comments that's like you're not gonna actually, they're not essential to the argument. The actual argument is this, okay? If a mother is somehow a rape victim, she gets raped, she's in a cabin, she gives birth to someone who she was raped from. Oh, I don't think she has an obligation to that child. I don't think anybody would. Like, if aliens zap somebody and you're in a cabin, they just encourage you the obligation of like taking care of another person. There's not going to be an innate obligation. Now, look, contextually, I can maybe say for most people that's good, right? But if somebody's like completely disinterested, right, like it's going to cause emotional suffering. They don't want to. It's going to be like stressful for them. They don't want to do any of those things. Yeah, of course. Like, why would I why would I enslave that person, this random person? They got like raped. They're a victim of that situation. Why would we punish them?
So sometimes people are victims of a situation, and it would still be the case that it would be wrong for them to do something. So, for example, if instead of them being a rape victim, let's imagine something that's even more down to earth. Let's imagine it's just the case that like you're at home, your parent left your little brother with you. There's no good reason for them to have done that. You didn't agree to take care of your little brother, but you're a 17-year-old, and your little brother is too. It's the case that you would suffer miserably if you had to sit there and take care of your little brother. Is it okay? Is it morally acceptable for you to not feed your little brother?
That's not. Was it my job to feed my little brother?
Nope, it's not your job.
Or I think it would be better for you to feed the little brother.
You think it would be better for you to?
Yeah.
Why?
It's gonna be better for your parents are gonna be angry at you. The law will be.
Well, let's say all of those externalities are controlled out for.
Okay, and I have
Is it morally bad for you to cause your little brother to suffer of hunger while you eat food?
I have a personal interest in my little brother.
Let's say you don't. Let's say you're just kind of like a shitty person.
Oh yeah, let's just say I exempt all the fucking reason as to why it'd be wrong to.
Look, all these externalities aren't relevant to the average person.
Yeah. So Sam, this is what's happening. So like, I'm just
Here's
gonna
the
give
pivot. Here's the pivot. Look, Liam, you haven't engaged with any of the hypotheticals so far. Every single time. Yes, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it because every single time that I bring up a hypothetical, you don't engage with it. These are simple. These are simple yes or no.
Hold on, guys. Okay, hold on. We need to get past this. So I'm gonna ask Eric. Eric, you there? Eric?
Don Corleone. Unmute.
Okay, yeah, unmute. Okay. So yeah, I think that I see where both of you guys are going. I don't necessarily see how the moral antecedents that you're speaking of, divinity, are relative to like what will eventually become the debate. Like for example, when I'm thinking of it from like a capitalist perspective, I don't think about like. I think about maximizing profits as like the personal benefit that would like trump maybe like I don't know, Tiny Tim getting his medicine, right? So I could use like an example of Scrooge, but I want to get like at least some kind of a reductio that you would agree does like foreshadow like what you're the larger analogy here.
Here's what I'm doing, right? So this question that I'm getting asked about like the sociopathic brother, right? Here's what keeps happening. So what's going to happen is I think that something is good or bad in relationship to your life. When we're evaluating social situations, right? All of the motivation as to why you should do something in a social situation, like, or all the moral reasoning in favor of it, is going to be whether or not it's conducive to your life. And so, for everyone, like literally in like any scenario, right? Like all of the different appeals as to why something's good or bad is going to be in relation to like external factors. So when I give you a bunch of external reasoning, it's like, okay, all these factors are going to contribute as to why you shouldn't do it. Sinthe is like, oh, what if we just exclude all of the reasoning, which is going to count in favor of not doing the action? It's actually meaningless. She's like, oh, let's just exempt all of the evidence which would count in favor of the action being good or bad.
Well, that's not what I'm doing.
Like
what I'm asking you is to exclude all this evidence that I and a lot of other people don't really care too much about when it comes to whether or not the action is moral. Like, for example, if the person would like to do it, or if it's the case that your parents would be mad at you, or if it's the case you get in trouble with the law. All of these things are things that the average person doesn't really think are all too bearing on morality. Obviously, there's going to be some way in which they interplay, but they're not the case that they're like the fundamental truth maker for morality. What really matters to the average person is, in my view, what kind of impacts it has on the world. I think that's what the average person cares about.
What's the argument for that?
What's the argument for those things not mattering to the average person?
I don't know. What's the argument that that's the account of the average person's interest?
Oh, so if you one thing we can do is we can
vote on that at least in this panel.
Oh, I'm down to both. I'm down to both. Allow like the audience to vote because that's cool to me too. But also, I think this is the case that we can just appeal to empirics. So what we see is that the average person, if put into a situation where they have time to think and if they have time to think and deliberate on actions, they're more likely to hold utilitarian intuitions. Meaning that they think they have reasons to pursue those utilitarian intuitions. In the case of most people, they answer the utilitarian way on the trolley problem. In the case of most people, they answer the utilitarian way on the trolley problem even more often when they think harder about it. And all of these mean, hold on, Liam, hold on, right? So there's also you could attempt to preempt what I'm going to say, Liam.
Hold on, just a second. Let her finish.
Okay.
Sure. So there's also empirics that we have. That show that if a person is lower IQ, they're less likely to come to utilitarian intuitions on a plethora. I can't speak. Sorry. On a plurality of topics. Plurality is what I'm going to say. Plurality of topics. If it's the case that you see somebody is given lower time constraints to the decisions they make, they're less likely to be utilitarian. If they're given, I guess, more strict time constraints. If they're lower IQ, if they're under the influence of alcohol, all of these drive the person away from them. The average person does, in fact, think the consequences of actions are bearing, and they are more likely to think that the more time they have to consider the actions deliberate.
Okay. Does the study account for the fact of like, does it already take for granted that all these people have like a personal interest in human life?
I don't know what you mean by that. How would a study take that? And what do you mean by does the study take that for granted?
Yeah, so like most people that I know have like benevolent tendencies, right? Like their interest, they think that benevolence is morally good, and I agree. I think benevolence is morally good. I have a personal interest in human life and other people's flourishing. I like seeing other people flourish because I like flourishing. There's like a very easy, selfish way to understand all of that, right? But like, does this study account for people who just like lack that, like sociopaths or like psychopaths, right? Like,
yeah, so sociopaths and psychopaths are going to have a different set of dispositions. I totally agree. The study doesn't account for that because it wouldn't need to. To the average person, they understand the term moral is going to be distinct from the term what's good for me. Right? That phrase, what's good for me, is different than what's moral to the average person. And if you want, that's so clearly obvious. I'm down to pull the room on that one too.
Well, no, the thing is this, right?
Hold on real quick, because we need to get past this. We do, and if not, we're going to sit here for the next 45 minutes that we have left, just debating the same thing over and over. Here's the proposition I've come up with, or not the proposition, but rather the question: is it moral for one neighbor to kill another neighbor for greater access to non-essential resources, assuming no fear of prosecution? Do you guys disagree with that?
Can you write that down?
Yeah, I was saying, is it moral for one neighbor to kill another neighbor for greater access to non-essential resources, assuming no fear of prosecution?
No.
I would say no as well.
Okay, so if I guess Divinity, what would be the issue that you would take with that action?
It's against their rights, and rights are a principle constituted of your nature. So it doesn't really matter what the government says. It's just going to be against their moral right, which exists factually independent of a government.
Okay, got it. So what about, is it moral for one neighbor to forestall another neighbor's access to essential resources based on property rights?
Yeah, if they're still using under property norms, forestalling it would be a form of like, so yeah, if by forestalling you mean like they don't actually have a moral right to the resource, but they're prohibiting other people from it, that's also
no, they do have a moral right to the resource. Sorry, they've
homesteaded. Okay, yeah. If you're saying is it moral for somebody to exclude other people from their private property, then yes, I think that's moral.
Yeah, I would think no, that's not moral.
Okay, well, moral, like I think it can be moral. Like I think there are cases where you should be generous, but like if you mean like would it be would they be politically justified in doing that? Yeah, I think they have the
I don't
moral
want
right
politically.
to do that.
No, I don't care about politically justified. I'm more okay. Case of Nestle buying all the water rights to ancestral lakes inside of Africa, then forcing the populations essentially into genocide because they're protecting their water rights.
I would say that's immoral for Nestle to do.
But yeah, I think that companies shouldn't behave like that.
But do you think it's moral for them to do?
Yeah, that's a question of whether they should behave like that. That's what morality is.
Are you saying that they shouldn't do that? That morally it's bad for them to do that?
I don't. Well, see, you're gonna have to give me the example again. You said they did what?
Well, but sorry, you just said morality is talking about that.
All the lakes.
No, I'm saying this. No. Yeah. Well, the reason why that's I don't know why you're scoffing at that. Like the reason why I said this is a question about morality is because like if we're asking about the action of like this particular company, like yeah, we can like morally evaluate that, but that doesn't really see what this proposition is about. The proposition is like whether or not the system structure of government is moral.
Well, I think that this. Well, hold on. We have to start small, though, right? So we have to start with like examining before we start like building the structure, examining like whether or not this action would be moral. Because if then the structure would be coming to either enforce their ability to perform that action, or taking away their ability to perform that action.
I don't think that. Oh well, yeah. Well, that's like my whole point about self-direction. Like the fact that morality is like not a guarantee. And the fact that morality is also self-directed is exactly why we need capitalism, right? Because if actors are gonna be confronting this problem of how to live their life, right? And we're gonna have this question of, well, I need to live my life in this way, I want to live my life in this way, right? And you have the interest in, like, let's say everyone has the ability to be moral, right? Like they have the ability to like act and do things which are better for themselves, all that shit. Well, then they're gonna need freedom to do that. So I think it seems like what this example is doing is like a wrong.
I guess is what I'm getting at.
A threshold to like.
Yeah, can a corporation's greed justify stopping them from being greedy?
Can a corporation's greed justify like do they lose the right to do that?
Look, I asked the question the way I intended to.
Well, I didn't understand. That's why I clarified.
What part of which word in the question was confusing?
Greed.
Greed. Okay. So what I mean when I say greed is they're doing something that's in their self-interest at the cost of others.
Like what?
Like, for example, restricting water access from the local community because it makes them more money to do so.
What does it make them more money?
Sorry, did you ask what does make them more money?
Yeah, why is that making them more money?
Oh, why does that make them more money? Because if you restrict water access, you'll have more water that you can then sell to other people. And your water prices will be higher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't understand why the why is very important though. Like it just seems like you're attempting to weasel.
No, the why is relevant to the psychology and the judgment made. Like if there, like maybe there was good evidence as to why they did that. That's why I was clarifying.
There is.
And the question was, can a corporation's greed justify what?
Can a corporation's greed justify somebody else coming in to stop them from being greedy? Like, if a corporation is sufficiently greedy, is it the case that you can use force to stop them from doing so?
Oh, if that doesn't violate their rights, then I don't see why.
If it doesn't violate their rights?
Yeah, like if the corporation's
does it violate their rights?
If the corporation's greed is within the realm of rights, I don't know what the justification is going to be to violate their rights.
Does it? Is it within the realm of rights?
Are they violating other people's rights? That's what I'm.
Well, I don't know what you take to be. That's what I'm asking you. Are they violating somebody else's rights?
I don't think they're stealing people's private property. I don't think they're killing or raping people. I don't think that they're committing fraud. So no.
So like, let's say I'm in the middle of the desert. I've homesteaded like a little puddle, a little oasis in my front yard. It's like nice and fresh water. Then a traveler comes by. They're broke. They got no money. Then I'm like, well, if you want to be able to drink from my lake, you gotta either work for me, make me some money. And they're like, I can't work. I'm gonna die if I don't. I'm just like a sociopath or something, right? Is it okay for me to prevent them from having access to my water?
Okay, like, is it politically justified?
I'm asking you, is it morally okay?
Like, yeah, that's morally okay. Meaning what? Like, is it a good thing that they're doing? That's a different. Like, I can
whatever you mean by moral is what's relevant here.
This is entirely relevant. So, like, whether or not this is moral in the context, yeah, I know. Like, I don't know what this is like. I don't know why you're scoffing this. So, like, you can evaluate things morally.
Like, if you want to explain why.
Yeah, you can evaluate morally in the political context, or you can evaluate morally in like the ethical context. Like, I can say this is good in the sense that like it has contributed to my life, or I could say it's good in the sense that it respects property rights and the type of relationship that I'm having.
Yeah, would it be justified for that person to steal? Would that be just like if they're coming by and they're like the water is in the puddle there? Would it be justified for me to stop them if they try to steal it? Could I like blow their brains out with a shotgun? No, don't touch
I
my
don't
fucking
think
water.
I don't think you can blow their brains out with a shotgun. I think you could prohibit
Why
them
not?
from getting your water.
I can prohibit them from getting my water, and let them starve to death or die of thirst. That's cool. That's cool.
Cool in the sense that it's within your rights, sure.
Okay, so there's a reductio. We finally fucking got Liam to agree to one.
That's
Jesus
a
Christ.
reductio. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's write it down. Hold on. We'll vote on it.
Yeah, you just keep using the word like, is it okay? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Morally okay. Is it moral to do?
Meaning what? The fuck
Morally
does that mean?
acceptable. What you mean by moral?
Yeah, I told you there's two different senses, and I answered in both senses, and you were dogmatic to the distinction. So this
Look,
is your
I told
issue.
you morally. I told
you were dogmatic to the
Jesus
distinction
Christ.
because it didn't make sense.
There
to you.
was
It's
no
fine.
dogmatism in the distinction. You're
There
just not engaging
was.
with hypotheticals, and now that you've engaged with one, you're trying to unengage with it. You're trying to be like, no, there's a secret. There's a
I'm not
secret
unengaging.
definition that I could have
No,
used.
I'm not unengaging.
But it's
No, I
okay
didn't say
on your
that. I
view.
didn't say that. I
On your
didn't say
view, it's
that.
moral
No,
according to
you're
all of them.
mischaracterizing
It's morally acceptable for me to.
You're
It's morally
mischaracterizing
acceptable.
everything.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ, you just keep going.
mischaracterize everything.
Look, do you not have a stop button? This guy just keeps going.
Hold on.
You mischaracterize everything. That's fine.
I
actually drew a
you.
distinction. I drew a distinction.
What do you feel like has been mischaracterized?
Yeah, the mischaracterization is Sinthe is like using this like intentionally vague language, like is it morally okay and acceptable? And so look, to clarify, I said, look, there's actually a distinction. And then we can talk about moral evaluation. We could evaluate it morally as in like, is this
Hell no, man. What the fuck?
we can evaluate it. We can evaluate it in relationship to their life, or we can evaluate it in relationship to the type of social relationship that is proper to your life. So in the political sense, so like politically acceptable, like is it within your rights? Yes. Morally acceptable, that's a different question. Like there might be like a case as to why they should.
Not even answering, is it morally acceptable or not? I'm just saying it's a different question. Unreal.
Yeah, in the case in which it's politically acceptable, yeah, I agree. It is politically acceptable. I agree with that.
Let's say there's no political system and like the only politics involved.
Acceptable
Oh
does
my
not
god,
refer
there's
to
not
the
like
fucking
a
government, bro.
there's
What
not
the
a
fuck?
holy well yeah normal people are using terms differently than you, so don't like scoff when I like don't understand what you mean with your proprietary
I just
definition.
expected you to fucking understand. I
You expected me to understand your wacko definitions, I'm sure. But look,
I didn't expect you to be like an ultra
oh
retard.
my god. Look, I don't feel like I look like the ultra.
No ad homs. No ad homs. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't take the ad hom super
Hold
seriously.
on. Let's make this easier. Let's move away from politically. Let's just start with ethically. Okay.
Oh, I think they should be generous towards that person. Yeah.
Okay, you think they should be generous, but what if it's the case that they don't like to? They don't like to be generous.
It makes them unhappy.
Yeah, it would make them unhappy to be generous.
Oh yeah, then they shouldn't be generous towards them.
There we go. Okay, the person in question was like a sociopath who's not very empathetic. Honestly, I'm not even a sociopath. I'm not super empathetic towards other people. Though. I'm not like a fucking crybaby. So I wouldn't in that situation. I don't know if I'd be more happy or not. So there's plenty of people who are not going to be made happier by doing that.
I'm just saying like if it will not make them happy, it doesn't benefit their life. They don't foresee it helping them their life. I don't see why they should do it. Yeah.
Cool. So in both senses of moral, it'd be morally acceptable for the person who is like unempathetic and would be like they'd be more pissed off letting the person. Yeah, sure.
Regular context. Yeah.
And there are contexts that are analogous to that in the real world. I'm sure we agree. That's not like
find one, sure, yeah.
Yeah, sure. There are people who are like unempathetic, not even sociopaths.
Sure, I don't think that everybody has a moral obligation to give to charity. Yes, I agree.
And or to like stop people from starving to death when they're on their front line. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that you agree with that. That seems like a reduction on the view. So I'm sure that we understand. I'm sure that we understand. I'm sure that relax. I'm sure that we understand the average person is using the term that. Yeah, you sound super chill. The average person is using the term moral in a way that's distinct from.
Let's not characterize each other, guys. Let's just.
That's fair. Yeah, well,
So what is the reductio? Just so I want to be clear here.
Yeah, you're a person who's like, you've homesteaded in the desert, you've got this little oasis in your front yard with plenty of water, and you would be annoyed if somebody came and drank it. So you can prevent people who are like potentially about to die from drinking your water. That was the reductio.
No, that was not the reductio. Like, I don't know why.
Everyone else.
I can explain why. Wait, I can explain why this is. No. You're completely taking the plausibility out of the entire example. Right? Like, the example we gave was like, under the like specific preconditions that like, it's not fucking annoyance. Like I don't know why you're like.
They would be made sad by doing it. They'd be like, I don't fucking like that.
Wait, yeah. You keep fucking doing this thing where you like downplay what's actually required for me to declare that it's like not like it's okay for that to happen. Like when I say it's moral for them not to like give it, I'm just saying that it's not because it's fucking annoying to them. Like they'd just be like disinterested, right? It's that it would cause them suffering and make them unhappy. Or like it would be like.
Hold on,
I take annoyance to do that.
Let me ask it this way. Maybe I can ask it this way. If I have homesteaded and have a moral claim to all of the water within a given area, and you are not capable of getting out of that given area in time, in the 3 days it would require for you to survive, okay? And it would impact my profits, even just marginally, to let you have free water. You're butt naked. You have no ability to work. Okay. Is it moral in terms of is it ethically acceptable? Who's
That's a realist.
good way to get server deafened? So, is it moral, meaning morally acceptable?
Yeah, like obviously it's
to
within your rights. I agree, it's within your rights. Yes.
Okay.
And in terms of it's ethical, like yeah, obviously if it's like net overall worse for your well-being, yeah, you shouldn't do it.
Okay, got it. So, I will put it this way and tell me if you agree with this, Liam. We're gonna have the poll. It is moral for a corporation to refuse
Not a corporation.
access to essential rights. Well, a corporate. Okay, for a person, we can say person. Doesn't matter. That's fine. Okay, so is it moral for, or it is moral for a person to refuse access to essential resources, which causes another human being to die, at the behest or in pursuit of marginal profits?
It wasn't about marginal profits.
Marginal utility gains for the actor.
It wasn't even about that. It's just whether or not because it's better
Marginal
for their
well-being gains for the actor. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say
Okay,
utility
better
as
for their
well-being.
well-being.
better for their well-being. That's
I
the
use
plan.
utility and
I just
well-being.
want to make sure that we're not confusing it with jeopardizing the well-being.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
better for their well-being not to do that. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to type that. Hold on one second. Why or no?
Why is
Okay.
it the case?
Why is
Oh yeah, I think it's better because I think whether you should do something
no
whether
no
or
no
not.
no 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 no?
Relevant.
I'm saying well, yes or no. I'm saying sorry. I was letting people know the poll is up inside of the chat.
Is it clear to people that the question is it more like, yes, it would be moral for a human to refuse access to essential resources to another human, which causes that person's death, in order to improve their own well-being marginally
what it
by some
says,
small
bro.
amount. I'm just making sure people understand.
Yeah, that's what the poll says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so look, polls out. What actually matters though is I'm getting called. What actually matters is this, right? So that's the poll. The moral defense for capitalism isn't really about whether or not it's not about the charity case example. That's literally just like yeah, for real, right? I don't even want to do the fucking poll. I think it's pointless. But like, the thing is just this, like. The fact is that I think
Seems
the
kind of split,
justification.
honestly. I mean, it seems like a close poll. But now that we're clear on the reductio,
Nice.
let me take it one step further because I think it'll be funny. So if it's the case that I had to if it's the case that I would be ever so slightly displeased by giving one person my well-being's an inch lower, just an inch lower, just a little tiny bit lower, as though throughout my life it's as though one more dust speck flew in my eye, right? That's how much lower my well-being is. And the action is I can prevent a lot of people, millions and millions of people, from having access to a water supply that will stop them from dying. You think it would be moral for me to stop them from doing so, correct?
Sorry, if what happened, listener?
What part of that was confusing?
I just wasn't listening.
Oh my god.
I got texted and looked at my phone. I heard the whole 30-second downplaying why it's so much better for your well-being. I just asked what the action was.
The action is they prevent somebody from having access to a water supply.
Oh yeah.
It's a dust speck lower of their well-being, and they cause millions to die by having access to their water supply, by not having access to their water supply.
Yeah, I think those millions of people would be beneficial possible traitor candidates, and so they should continue to allow them to live.
Sorry. The hypothetical we're talking about here is the person's well-being is made worse. Do you understand that?
Oh, like there's actually no reason. There's no positive contribution at all.
What part of the person's well-being is made worse? Do you not understand?
Okay, yeah. If there's no positive contribution to your life, then sure. I don't know any issue here.
Okay, so if the well-being is made ever so slightly worse, and in order for the person to not like starve millions and millions of people, it's cool for them to do that morally.
Yeah, because there's no,
Cool.
you're
Okay.
taking for granted there's no reason to do it. Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool, perfect. In that case, I think most people have, on your view, most people have more reason to pursue socialism than capitalism. It would make most people's lives better.
Okay, well, do you want to consult the poll? Because the poll is not agreeing with you right now, bro.
Right now,
you can say,
If by most people you mean the people not, if by most people you mean like the people not who were polling, then sure, maybe you can get some evidence of that. But like,
I mean, if you want to, I'm down to.
Contextually specific to the poll, that's not true.
Guys, hold on just a second. We need everybody to vote. Right now, we haven't had anybody go first past the post. And right now, just to make it clear, what the reductio is that human 1 refuses essential resources to human 2, which results in their death, in order to make sure that human 1's well-being is not impacted. And it's been drawn down to even like to the point of like it's displeasing the same level of like a speck of dust in the eye. So like to avoid the speck of dust in the eye, so to speak, level of displeasing, human 1 may deny access to essential resources, resulting in death for human 2. If you believe that is moral, then say yes. If you believe that is immoral, say no. We're still missing approximately.
I just want to go ahead and make the case for like why I'm gonna say yes. That way, like maybe I can just convince people, right? And then maybe some can give why they think it's not okay. Like when I'm thinking about engaging other people, I don't believe that there's this like innate.
Hold on. I think we've beaten this thing to a pulp. We've spent 30 minutes on this.
Well, I haven't really gotten to explain why I think it's okay to do things like that. Like this will literally take 30 seconds. Like
Okay.
the reason why I think it's okay, like it's good to engage with people, is because it's beneficial to your life. Like thinking about friendships, romantic partners, business opportunities. You're not going to engage with people who are self-destructive, right? So like being benevolent towards other people is good in a selfish sense because it's, mutual reciprocation. You treat people in a life-affirming way, makes you feel good, all that other shit. Like obviously if we neutralize like all the day-to-day reasons why like I think most people interact with other people, then yeah, of course, like why the fuck should I care? So it may seem unintuitive, but like I think it's just an optical illusion. Like think about why you engage with other people. It's because they're beneficial to you. If there was actually someone who had no benefit to you, you would not engage with them.
I accidentally kicked somebody out of the no group when I was clicking through it, but it doesn't matter. We've got 12 yeses and what was 8, but my bad, I kicked somebody out of the no group. But it was 8 no's, so that's first past the post. So we're going to say that Liam is correct here according to our sample size.
On the second one, it's currently tied up. I'm not sure if anybody wants to pop out and vote for that one. The moral to allow millions to starve for a very marginal increase to your well-being. Oh, now it's tied. Oh, it's tied up again.
That's okay. That's actually thank you, Eric. That's a much better way of putting that. Come on, folks. We've got what is it? 24. So we've got somebody's got to hit 13 in order for this to win.
Wait, I want to be clear. When you agreed on what was moral earlier, what was the agreement now? Like, did you say it was a set standard to help you flourish or something?
My idiosyncratic flourishing standard.
Yeah, so if that's gonna be the definition of what's moral here.
No. That is not what's in question. Is that why people are voting that?
He's consulting. No, Kian. So this poll is about whether or not that matches up with your intuition, not like whether or not it matches up with me.
Oh no, it doesn't match up with my intuition. What the fuck?
Why are you? Wait, hold on. Why are you guys voting yes? What the fuck? I thought you guys were just insane. We're in a room full of sociopaths.
Kian, I love you. I love you. Everybody else but Sinthe, myself, and Liam, let's go all on mute. You too, Nick.
I'm not even talking. Stop being a Discord man.
But yeah, right. So the purpose of this hypothetical is what? To set up the capitalism debate?
The purpose of this one was to show that you have an idiosyncratic definition of the term moral, that it's not the kind that complies with the average person's definition of the word moral. And maybe hopefully that clears up. I guess I understand why the yes voters. They just like it's a room split. It's like an IQ split.
Hold on. So it's like 10, we've got 10 yeses, 11 nos right now. Can we please get through? We've got 21, 20. Now it's hold on, 19.
Oh, people are changing their votes now that they realize how the question works. Now we have 12 no's and 1 yes.
12 no's. Wait, what? And 1 yes. You mean 8 yeses?
Yep. 7. Yeah, it's gonna be
7 yeses now.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say the one? Oh, yeah. 7 yeses to 12 no's now that people understand the question.
Can we
back down for the collective?
Yeah, James asks a good question. But I think it was confusion. I think people understand that we're asking about their definition, not about if it complies with Liam's definition. But now okay. I thought it was in a room full of sociopaths. I was like shocked.
I wasn't gonna lie. I can't vote, but I was very surprised that it ended up being on that side of things. Folks, we need 1 more vote for no's or 6 more vote for yeses.
If somebody scroll up and click on that
so
in.
If the goal of this is like the idiosyncratic whatever, right? Like
we just dropped the yes vote. We gained a yes vote.
So
we gained a no vote at 13. There we go. Okay, perfect.
If the goal of the poll is to show that my definition of morality is like so secularized from like the way most people think about it, then like shouldn't be used. Like I don't even need to appeal to like this particular like justification for my political stand or like my political standard of what's morally good.
Could I clarify what the goal is?
Yeah, what is the goal?
Yeah, the goal is just to make sure that we both understand what the other person is talking about. So if the average person understands what you're talking about, what I'm talking about, I think the average person is going to agree with me on the facts of the matter. So I think there's an actual descriptive fact of the matter that we're talking about that we actually do disagree on, which is in regards to, at least I'm assuming, which you have stance-dependent reason to do. I think you're conflating your definition with the definition that I think that a lot of people find intuitive or appealing. And I think that that's the kind of thing that we probably get at. I think that most people would be more pleased by socialism than by capitalism.
Yeah, again, so this particular that assumes that this particular question is somehow a good definition or essential characterization of my view of what's politically morally good.
Well, it is. Your answer.
Wait. That's not true. I already explained to you what the standard was for like a good society, and the answer was freedom. Like that was my answer for what's a moral society.
That's part of your answer. But the reason you have
morally good.
So a society is morally good if and only if it's free.
It's free, yes.
If and only if the society is free. And what you mean by free is
people's rights are upheld minimally consistently.
Yeah, and what you mean by the rights is
like the right to like live their life independent of physical force.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So you're just holding to the definition that capitalism requires less physical force on people. And if you're saying that like there are, I mean, I actually don't think that I think you were confused when reciting. Hold on, stop. Wait a second. Middle of the sentence. Liam, look at the end of the sentence.
Be quiet.
Liam, listen to the end of the sentence. Listen to the end of the sentence. Other people are speaking. Yeah, you can call me daddy after I'm done. After I'm done fucking you. After I'm done fucking you.
Hold on. Everybody stop.
How do this? I can just ask. Why don't we just ask the poll? Look, if it's not destructive, I'm just gonna ask. Like, we can just ask the question in the way that like I'm phrasing it, because this is the concept that's like it's actually getting at. Obviously, you isolate the concept.
Look, you're confused, Liam. You're confused about the debate. You're confused about the debate that's even happening currently. Just wait until I'm done with my sentence, then hop in afterwards.
Yeah, you're saying nothing.
Look, Liam. What I'm saying. Look, listen. You'll figure things out. All you have to say is mic spamming continuously, never letting the other person speak, so you can pivot away from every single hypothetical you're given. Just wait until the other person's done talking.
Everybody stop. Liam, stop. All right. This is ridiculous, all right? We should be able to get over this hump. What is the contention here? You're saying, Liam, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that this question does not accurately reflect what you believe is politically moral, right?
No, I'm saying that this is the issue with this question is that it boils down what is politically moral away from like the broad, wider concept, right? That I'm referring to. So like, for example, I could give like a really specific reductio about like the ethics which would justify socialism, right? Or we could just define, or hold on. Or what I could do is we could just say, look, here's the essential characteristic at the basis of the morality of socialism. Here's the essential characteristic at the basis of the morality of capitalism, right? Which one is going to be more morally preferable? So I could just say, look, I think that the central idea, which is present for the morality of capitalism, is freedom, right? Freedom for self-direction. Sinthe is going to say like, oh, I think that like the bigger idea is like the greater good for the collective. We can just phrase it like that. We just go, which better, like freedom for the individual or flourishing
That's
for the
not true.
collective?
That's
I
not
don't
true.
think that these things are mutually exclusive. Firstly,
Yeah, of course they're not.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but that's the difference in the prioritization of the political
Hold on,
system.
but here
No, it
maybe we
isn't.
can get past this if I just ask, like, is it something that you would adhere to, this like logical consistency that like therefore a corporation can kill millions in order to protect its water rights? Is that something that you would adhere to?
Like a company?
Like an individual. I keep on saying corporation because
Yeah,
it's,
if they adhered it like through like a valid means, like yeah, of course they can't like kill them, quote unquote, but they can restrict their access to it, sure.
Including if it causes their death. Yeah, that's gonna be your view.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
can explain. We can explain
That's
why
what
that's
pay means
not.
by killing them.
Yeah, we can just explain why that's not intuitive. We can go down. We can debate the more reductio, but that's not a very good account of my
Well,
view.
you said you'd have a reductio for. Well, you said it is a good account of your view because it follows from your view. It is a true account of your view. So I want to know what's the reductio on the ethics that.
Of the view. That's why it's not a good.
I want to know what's the reductio on the ethical position required to believe in socialism.
Yeah, what's the argument that it's okay to initiate physical force?
Sorry, you're the one presenting a reductio.
Yeah, I'm asking. The issue is that it's ultimately going to boil out, and you're going to give me some example which is okay to violate someone's rights. I'm just going to ask you
Yeah,
why
it's
is
okay
it
to. Here's a reason why it's okay to violate somebody's rights generally. Here's a general reason why it's usually okay to violate somebody's rights in scenarios like this. Here's a scenario.
No,
If
at all.
violating their rights prevents the mass extinction of humans, then generally you should be able to violate their rights.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking.
Yes, you did.
I'm assuming.
It is exactly what you asked.
Only
Yes.
look. No. Look,
Provide the reductio.
The question I'm asking is like, look, I'm going to take it that the minimally consistent view of force, which is acceptable in society, is going to be a system of individual rights, right? So I'm assuming that means you don't agree with minimal consistency of force, right? Like you don't think that we should be minimally consistent with the freedoms we give to people.
I don't know what you mean by minimally consistent.
Like I'm going to have a freedom that you also have, but if it's not minimally consistent, that means I have a freedom that you don't have.
So any case in which two individuals have different freedoms, that would be a violation of minimal consistency?
Like, yeah, like freedoms in the sense.
Yeah, obviously, I think there are some scenarios in which two people can have different amounts of freedoms. Like, for example, I wouldn't extend the
That's
right
not
to
more
vote
than
to children.
Okay, we're talking about like your basic. We're assuming all else equal between the two people. Obviously.
Yeah, so assuming all else is equal, I don't know what you mean by all else. Else than what?
Like,
we're
assuming that
how are
the
you
two
gonna
are
set
like
a
mature. We're
for that?
assuming that the two are like two moral, mature agents of legal age.
Two people in the exact same context should have the exact same rights and freedoms and so on. I don't believe in this. Yeah, obviously, I'm not gonna disagree with that.
Okay, yeah, cool. So why is it the case? Well, okay, not even just that. Like
they're in different contexts.
No. I'm saying in the case that they have the same universal context, which is that they're both like mature, rational, moral agents, right?
I don't know what you mean by universal context. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Like, look, so we're taking for granted that we're not talking about people who are not of like what we typically consider age to get like full political agency. We're talking about two
There
people.
are other reasons I also think somebody should not be able to vote. Like, I think that there's not a violation of somebody's rights happening if like they're in a coma and they're not extended the right to vote. Like, we don't have to inject ourselves into their. Even if we could inject ourselves into their coma through like ridiculous science or something.
It's really not so much about your civil rights. I'm talking about like your moral rights.
You didn't really give a clarification on your definition of what you mean by a universal context, though. You just sort of like repeated back your earlier points.
Yeah, because I'm talking about like the context of moral rights. So like when you're like, oh, I don't understand, like there's all these civic rights that just like apply to people differently. I'm talking about like your basic moral rights to private property, bodily autonomy.
Yeah, I think in some cases it's fine to violate people's rights to bodily autonomy. Like, for example, if somebody is going to punch me, I think that I should be able to violate the right of bodily autonomy and stop them from doing so. If I think that somebody is a crazy person and they're not going to punch anyone yet, but they might in the future, I think it'd be fine to be like, you need to be forced to.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be forced to. You need to be forced. Jesus. You need to be forced to undergo mental therapy. I think there are plenty of. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
holy shit! You just constantly interrupt.
You gotta let her finish. You gotta let her finish.
Sure.
True. So I think that there are plenty of contexts in which it's okay to violate people's freedoms, because I don't think it's the case that your freedoms are always on. Obviously, there are some situations in which you justify somebody else preventing you from having some such freedom. Like your freedom to swing your arm stops where my face begins is one obvious example. Your freedom to live a normal life out in public stops if it's the case that forcing you into therapy is going to make you better off and make your life better. So I think it'd be fine to use force sometimes to stop somebody from doing something which is harmful to themselves and others.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just explain this again. So like I don't disagree. Like some of these examples, thinking like the kind of question I'm asking. So like when I'm talking about minimal consistency, my standard for what I talk about minimally consistent means like I have self-direction, you have self-direction. If there's a conflict of interest, then the standard is going to be the non-initiation of physical force, right? And obviously, if somebody like initiates force against you, of course, it's okay to retaliate. In cases in which we can say that somebody is like, I don't know, like life-saving things. There's like a lot of different moral calculus. Like I agree that there's at least some legal argument, like there's at least some like minimally consistent argument as to why it's okay sometimes to stop people from killing themselves, but that's not like universal.
It's not even at all clear to me what you mean by minimally consistent still.
Yeah, so minimally consistent meaning like, look, if we have a group, okay, this group is full of agents who have the capability to reason and direct their life according to their ideas. Okay, and they all pursue their own interest. Minimally consistent means that we have a standard for what's going to be acceptable ways to engage with other people, and they all follow that same standard despite having different interests to pursue.
Of course I'm just not a particularist, if that's what you're asking. Of course I'm not a particularist.
Yeah, and so when we're talking about the usage of force, right, I'm going to say that the usage of force is going to be justifiable politically, like if and only if, this is assuming that you have two mature, capable agents. If and only if someone initiates force, then it's okay to respond to physical violence.
If and only if it's okay. Sorry, this is a general rule, so there are some exceptions.
No, this is a condition of law.
A condition of law. So in any case in which you have two rational, mature agents, it's the case that they're only justified in using force on the other one if the other one starts using force first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you take? And by rational, you take that to just mean that they're what exactly?
Rational is going to mean like they're not like psychotic, right? Like they have like I don't know how to explain rational. Like they have control over their mind. They have control over their ability to think.
Look, let's say that somebody is like they have control over their mind and their ability to think, but they're extremely depressed, very sad all the time. Their life is going pretty poorly. But it seems like it might turn around, right? It seems to you like it might, like it almost definitely turn around, but it doesn't seem like that to them. They're not like they just like there's just an epistemic gap there. And they're sitting on their couch, they're thinking to themselves, "Fuck, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna end it all." You're Liam. You're sitting there on the other side of the couch. You're looking at this. This is your friend. Is it morally acceptable for you to use force to stop them from pulling the trigger?
No.
Okay, cool. They specifically tell you, "I'm gonna kill myself. I really just want to end it all." Right?
I'd be like, that's irrational.
Yeah, you think that's irrational?
No, I would tell them, yeah, that's irrational.
You would tell them that's irrational.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to use physical force to stop them.
I mean, that'd be against their rights. And like,
okay.
I
disagree. So this is a scenario that I don't agree with your position on what you're calling universal consistency.
I'm gonna give you an example. Yeah, okay.
You can give me an example where it does fit your. No, I think there are cases where it does fit the rule. I think the counter examples. Well, hold on.
No, hold on, wait.
You're confused about the point.
Go ahead, Liam. Let Liam give the example.
Go ahead.
Like exactly. Like supposedly, you're not gonna think that like you're not gonna be okay with doctors violating do not resuscitate like orders, right?
I think that there are situations where I would and ones where I wouldn't. But I think generally I wouldn't want them to. But you giving an example that complies with your case doesn't really matter. Like if I say something like, look, hold on, listen, you're about to figure out why this is like a ridiculous argument. So if I say something like, it's okay to rape people, and then the example I give as a reason why it's okay to rape people is it's okay to rape Hitler to stop the Holocaust. You giving an example that complies with the moral rule isn't going to mean the moral rule is true. All it's going to mean is there are some situations in which it's okay. I'm telling you it's not true as a rule, right? And I'm giving you counterexamples. Counterexamples do matter for disproof. Stop.
I understand what they're saying.
Yeah, just listen, Liam. So I'm telling you that there are some situations that violate that moral rule that are clearly justified, right? And you giving examples of situations where they don't violate the rule that are justified isn't going to change my view or anyone else's, because like obviously there are plenty of situations in which any random moral rule you can think of, other than ones that are just like tautologically wrong, any random moral rule you can think of is going to be one which is something that you could violate, or something that which you could follow. So the rape example comes up, the murder examples comes up. Like I can give examples where it seems justified to murder somebody,
okay, I understand.
and so on.
Look, yeah. So I'm asking again. So if it's the case that you think it is okay, right? Like in this instance, to initiate force against your friend who he doesn't want to be resuscitated, like is directing their life towards death, right? What standards is that minimally consistent with?
So if the standard that I hold to just ends up being one of well-being maximization for the aggregate. But I don't think you have to hold to this standard to be a socialist. I think there are plenty of other systems which justify socialism as well. And your view was that you could give a reductio for the ethical system required to be a socialist. It seems like the only thing required to be a socialist is to simply affirm that we should have a democratic, primarily democratic economy. I'm not sure what the reductio on that view is.
Minimally consistent. Yeah, the minimally consistent standard is what well-being for the aggregate.
Yes, exactly. I'm a utilitarian. So if you want to provide a reductio on utilitarianism, that wouldn't really meet your burden.
Wait, no. So actually, that's the thing, right? So if you're telling me that the reason why my view, I guess, is like you're rejecting my view is you just have this reductio, right? Then I can just say, well, look, right? Like if we're comparing moral ideals for a political system, we can just walk down the reductios and see which one is actually like more.
Dude, that doesn't meet your burden, right? So you saying that some particular, yeah. So your burden was to provide an example of a reductio on an ethical view required to be a socialist. I'm telling you, you don't require being a utilitarian to be a socialist. A lot of socialists that I've talked to, probably the majority, are not. They're like usually like, hold on, listen, Liam. They're usually something like a particularist, like a particularist.
You don't need to continue to ramble. Actually,
and I don't think you're going to be able to provide a reductio on the view required to be utilitarian.
Yeah. So look, whenever we're debating ideas, right? Like when we're talking about your like socialism as you're proposing it, right? Like my burden to rejoinder socialism doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in the context of the justification you're giving for socialism. So if you're a utilitarian, you believe in socialism, as far as the debate is concerned in the context of the debate, if I can refute like the ethical system underpinning the argument in the round for socialism, then yeah, I've refuted socialism.
No, you haven't. So just because of the fact that you think that some particular, this is unironically, this is like fallacious reasoning. So just because of the fact that it's just like you're familiar with how the fallacy works, right? This is what you're invoking here. You're just saying that like because of the fact that you think you can provide some argument against some particular view of socialism, you provide an argument for all of socialism.
No,
I don't think that's true.
Argument against socialism as it's been
all that I'm saying is this one principle. I'll say this one principle, and you can tell me if it's the case that you agree or disagree with the principle.
Here's how this works, right? Like if you
Liam.
You actually just ended your statement. Talking.
Hold on. Okay, I don't think, in all fairness, and I could be wrong, but I didn't feel like Sinthe had ended that statement.
Okay,
I hadn't.
Continue going, Sinthe. Just stop rambling, please.
I'm not rambling. I'm just gonna give you an explanation. I'm just gonna give you an explanation. Look, your statements have been longer than mine. I guarantee you, if you listen back to the recording, you've talked more than I have. You're talking right now. Even when I talk, you talk. So what I'm telling you is just that, like, all that I have to affirm to be a socialist, right? All that I'm affirming here is that it would be justified to stop people to impose your will on somebody's right of private property for the sake of stopping the entirety of humanity from going extinct. Because that's what I think that capitalism does, and it doesn't seem like, sorry for the voice crack. That's what it doesn't seem like you're actually even contending with the argument that capitalism causes human extinction. You're like just ignoring it entirely.
Yeah. Okay. So let me run that again. So look, as it exists in the context of a round, right? This is the way burden of proof works in a debate. Okay, if we're talking about whether or not socialism is a justified system, socialism as it pertains to the round is a justified system if the burden, like, in terms of all the evidence in the round presented in favor of the belief of socialism. Okay, so if the only argument presented in favor of socialism is this particular utilitarian argument, then as the round is concerned, then as the round is concerned, right, socialism is not justified. Now we can go down the other like pluralistic reasonings as to why socialism is good, right? And we can walk down those, and I can explain and rejoinder those, right? But I'm assuming like the only positive argument you've made, right? Because you're a utilitarian. The only positive argument you've made, and the only one that you actually believe is correct, right? Because you're a utilitarian.
No,
is the utility? Okay, so we can just go one by one. Just give me a list, though. Give me a list of all the arguments in favor of socialism.
Sure. The primary argument that I made, the one that I began my opening statement with, the one that you've addressed 0 times, the one that I just made again, was it's the case that capitalism causes human extinction. Causes human extinction because of the way in which it engages in automation, because of the specific mechanism in which it does so. That's the argument I gave you. That's the only one you have to agree with to be a socialist. You don't have to be a utilitarian to be a socialist. That's not the argument. You asked me what my ethical system is. It's utilitarianism. You don't have to be a utilitarian to be a socialist. You're not engaging with my argument.
Yeah, look, the thing is, when this question, like, even like I agree that like I have to debate debating the descriptive fact of capitalism. That's important. That's fine, right? But the evaluation of capitalism as a moral system requires a debate about the framework we're going to use to evaluate it. So yeah, I agree that's going to be like a necessary constitutive part of the conclusion of the argument. But also a necessary constitutive part is the ethical system used to evaluate the system. So when I ask you about utilitarianism and the ethics you're going to use to evaluate that, and the ethics we're going to use to evaluate the descriptive fact, right? You actually still have to compete with that. So no, it's not the case that I'm just pivoting.
I can explain to you again why I don't.
Wait.
Right,
Wait.
You're done? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Look. So look, here's the thing. Okay, if we're asking the question, capitalism is morally good. let's take for granted, right? Like obviously, like just for the sake of this, like just proving this point, like take for granted that capitalism does cause extinction. Okay, if capitalism does cause extinction, we then have to ask the question: oh, then what? What does that mean? What does that make it? Does that mean capitalism is moral? Maybe it's more like capitalism kills everybody, right? Exactly, right? We still have to have a normative framework.
Are you saying
We still
exactly
have-
that?
Exactly, because you still need to answer and debate and like come to a conclusion about the normative framework that's going to be used to evaluate the
But I'm the one
morality
who
of
rambles.
capitalism.
Jesus.
Hold on, Synth. Hold on.
Mhm.
Yeah, so go for it. Just explain to me why you don't need a normative system to evaluate the descriptive
Look, you don't
facts.
need any particular moral system. All you have to do is assert that it would be justified to prevent other people from engaging in the right to private property in cases where it stops human extinction. That's all you need to assert for this one. Like you don't have to have every single fleshed out aspect of a normative system. You could simply be like, I could say I'm like a threshold deontologist, or I'm a utilitarian, and I think that's the case, or I'm a particularist, I think that's the case. And all of these people have a normative framework in which it justifies stopping somebody from killing off all of humanity because they don't want to give their penny away, right? Like that's clearly the case.
Okay, so so then if that's the case, if you think there's a plethora of different justifications for it, I don't disagree. We can run through the justifications. I can explain why all of them. I disagree with all of them. So that's why I went one by one. We can go through utilitarianism, we can go through threshold deontology. That's fine.
What's the falsity implied by just the proposition that it's justified to stop people
I didn't
from
say it
engaging
was
in private
analytically
property?
containing a proposition that it's false. I said that
Didn't say anything.
there's no
I didn't say the word analytically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that all these different theories, right? I'm absent of any evidence to believe the contrary of what I believe, right? Which is why I need a competitive, normative theory, right, in order to analyze whether or not I'm right here. Okay. So I need an argument in favor of the other normative theory, which would lead the result of, oh yeah, that is morally wrong.
Yeah, what kind of
for the argument of utilitarianism or pointing out a reductio in it.
Look, what do you take evidence to be? What do you take evidence to
Holy
be in
shit.
regards to normative theories?
Look, I guess there's a couple different things. So evidence is going to be like whether or not it has like whether or not it's coherent with the meta ethics is an example. Whether or not the meta ethics is correct is another example.
Do you think that reductios on the view count as evidence?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not
Do you
unless
think
the
that
reductio is used to point out like an issue in like an actual like issue. Unless it's just like, oh my gosh,
what kind of things would be an actual issue?
Let's say that it points out a contradiction to like the meta ethics.
Sure. So, do you think there's any contradictions entailed by my view of utilitarianism?
A contradiction about sacrifice. Oh yeah, well the point I'm getting at is that I don't think there's any positive evidence in favor of why it's morally justified to sacrifice other people.
The question I asked you is, do you think there's a contradiction entailed?
Yeah, I think there's a contradiction to the fact, like it's a contradiction to like it's assuming the contradiction. There is evidence and there's not evidence. It's okay to do that, to sacrifice other people. That's
So why does it assume that there's not evidence?
Because I'm asking why it's okay and you can't give me an answer.
So why does it assume there's not evidence? Was what I just asked you.
Because you haven't given me an answer. So in terms of the context of the conversation,
I think there is evidence. There's the answer, right? So somebody not giving you an answer in terms of some random question that I don't remember you asking. That doesn't seem to me to be indicative that somebody has the view that there's not evidence. I think there is evidence to believe in utilitarianism.
Okay, cool. What's the argument?
Well, what I need to know from you is what's the argument that I don't believe that? Because you said there's a contradiction entailed.
Yeah. Okay. Look, when the point of the reductio and why I'm saying the reductio leads to a contradiction, because when I'm asking you a question about the justification for utilitarianism, obviously when you use utilitarianism, like posit utilitarianism, you're saying it is okay to sacrifice people. That's the conclusion of utilitarianism. But then if I ask you, why is it okay to sacrifice people, right? And there's no argument, then in terms of this debate, right, you both posited that it's okay, but also not posited why it's okay. So it entails a contradiction on your behalf.
How's there a contradiction in positing X without positing the justification for X?
Because the justification for X is a necessary condition for positing X.
Yeah, wait, why is it the case that by not positing a justification for X, you posited not the positive negation of the justification?
Because by not meeting the burden of proof, you meet the burden of rejoinder.
Why?
Do I need to introduce you to Aristotelian logic?
No, you need to introduce me to literally any logical argument you can make for your position.
Yeah, the burden of
Look, if you want to do term logic all day, you can do that. But I think if you want, I can explain.
Yeah, you asked me the exact way.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so like when you posit a theory, the theory is going to be the case if and only if the theory is if and only if the theory is justified, right? Like the theory is not going to be the case. Yeah, okay. Justified is going to be in relationship to whether or not there's evidence in favor of it. The evidence.
Oh, well, that's not true. No, that's what you mean by justification. Obviously, that's false. So plenty of people have beliefs which are true that they're not justified in holding. Is that correct?
Wait, what?
Plenty of people have true beliefs they're not justified in holding. Like if I ask the average person, like, do you think the Earth is round? They'll say yes. They're not justified in holding that because if I ask them why they think the Earth is round, they'd have bad justifications for it.
I think that they do have. I think they do have that justification, but
You don't think there's anybody out there who's got a lack of a justification for some belief while still having a true belief?
I'm sure. A lack of justification for belief while having true belief. Well, I don't know why they would. I don't know why they would have the true belief if they didn't have any evidence for it.
Here's an example, right? So let's say that I'm about to flip a coin, right? It can come up heads or tails. Do I have any justification for believing it comes up heads?
No.
What if I guess and I get it correct? Do I have justification?
No.
Okay, but I had a true belief, right?
Sure.
So sometimes people guess correctly and they have true beliefs while not having a justification for such belief, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Now you understand why you were wrong?
But that doesn't matter in relation to this context. Yeah, I'm telling you, that doesn't matter in relation to this No, it doesn't, because if you're positing the theory...
Your audio cut out for me, Liam. I couldn't hear you there. Was that on my end?
If you're positing the theory of utilitarianism to be the case, and you can't give me a positive argument in favor of utilitarianism, then in the context of the discussion, the burden of proof isn't met, which means the burden of rejoinder.
Sorry, you understand why saying some belief acts as
utilitarianism is correct? Yeah, if you're willing to bet that
if you want, I'm down to move to a conversation on. Look, if you just admit that there's not a contradiction, I'm down to move to you with any other critiques you have. I just want to make it clear that contradiction is not one of them.
Yeah, there is a contradiction. There's a contradiction.
The contradiction just disprove the contradiction claim because you said not having a justification entails the negation of the justification. I'm telling you, no, it doesn't.
Okay, yeah, the contradiction is that you're positing that utilitarianism is both and is not justified.
I'm not saying that it's not justified. Look, somebody doesn't have to posit a justification for them to believe it's justified. Look, I can believe it is justified. I can believe it is justified. While not believing, look, it's totally consistent to say that some person believes a view is justified without believing they in particular have the justification.
Utilitarianism justified?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Why?
Look, I don't have to answer that until you admit there's not a contradiction. You have to, unless you can show the contradiction. How about this, Liam? If you clearly admit to me. Look, Liam, if you clearly admit to me there's no contradiction that you found yet, I'm down to move to any other critiques you want.
You actually missed the whole issue. You've missed the whole issue. The issue is this.
You don't have an issue.
Yeah, the issue is this. The issue is that if you're positing utilitarianism is the case, right? That also I'm assuming you're also positing it to be justified. I'm taking that for granted because you're proposing it, okay?
Look, if I say that X is true, do you think that means to help to clarify? If you want, look, I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me continue. Look. So, actually, I have to ask this question. Do you think I'm assuming when you're positing utilitarianism as an answer or justification to why socialism is a moral system, I'm assuming you're taking that to also mean utilitarianism is justified, right?
I think utilitarianism is justified, yes, but that doesn't mean that it's the case that, by virtue of not having told you the justification yet, that it is the case that I believe it's not justified. So there's not a contradiction on my view there, right? What I'm trying to figure out is, if you just clearly admit there's no contradiction on the view,
disengage.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I asked you.
Look, you don't even have a critique. You said there was a contradiction. If you don't think there's a contradiction, I'm down to move to your next critique.
It's so easy. I'm literally asking this. I'm just asking, when you posit utilitarianism as a justification for socialism, I'm assuming you're also positing utilitarianism as justified, right? Yes or no?
Yes, I think it's justified. I don't think a person posits that by. I don't think a person posits. Yeah, listen, you'll figure out. Listen. I don't think it's the case that somebody posits. That somebody posits.
Guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, bro.
Liam, restate the question.
So, yes or no? When you posit utilitarianism as a justification for socialism, are you also positing utilitarianism as justified?
I posit both of those, yes. However, somebody does not posit it simply by virtue of the fact they posited utilitarianism.
Okay, cool. I'm debating with you. That's fine. So you're positing utilitarianism is justified. That's fine.
Yes.
What's the argument?
I don't think that by virtue of positing utilitarianism, I posit it's justified. I just posited both of those things in this discussion. Do you understand?
Yeah, cool. So what's the argument for utilitarianism justification?
Look, if I were to give a really, really weak argument, like utilitarianism is justified because I think so, do you think that would mean that I think it's not justified?
What? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not making the claim that you don't think it's justified.
You did make that claim. Yes, you did.
No, the issue is that you're positing as justified and non-justified.
If I'm positing that it's not justified, you think I do claim it's not justified?
It's not justified. Okay, look, by absence, the way like debate stages work, okay, is we're talking about what you posit as a debater. What you posit as a debater is constituted of what you actually say, right, and what you omit. Okay, so if I don't give any argument in favor of belief, right, I'm inherently positing the negation. Okay, it does as far as the round is concerned. That's not going to be true. Yeah, as far as the round is concerned, it does not exist.
That's not going to be true because then that would mean that you're positing the negation of the justification for your justification, right? You just fall into Munchausen's trilemma on that view. That's ridiculous.
What?
You fall into Munchausen's trilemma on your view.
Yeah, I don't know what Munchausen's trilemma is.
So when we talk about justification, I'll explain. Right, when we talk about justification, there are three kind of routes that we can go. One is we can have an infinite series of justifications. Obviously, it's the case that eventually you come to a view where you haven't had the time to engage in some further justification.
False.
And then the second thing we can do is we can have some circularity of justifications. Obviously, you won't take that to be justifying. The third thing we can do is that we could have some foundational belief which is unjustified. So in either of those three cases, eventually in the context of a debate, you will not be able to justify some claim simply because it's a time constraint. That would mean that on your view, you'd posit negation of the justification, and thus you'd have no ability to justify anything. That's going to be a huge issue for your view, Liam.
Why does foundationalism? Yeah, why are you assuming that foundationalism assumes that the foundational beliefs aren't justified?
That's what it would mean to be foundationalist.
Wait, hold on. We go back to the fucking debate, but you think that all foundationalists are saying that the foundations aren't justified? That's
what do you think it means to be justified?
Oh, that's actually okay, whatever, fine. Okay, so
look, you want to answer that question? Look, by virtue of not answering that question, you posited the negation of your justification. Sure. Nice, got
it. Yeah. So look, here's the thing. In context of this debate, okay, obviously, when I'm refuting socialism, right, or like the positive case in favor of the socialist ethics, I'm not going to have to prove like every single possible.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. All I have to do is actually I had to meet the burden of rejoinder to the arguer, the speaker, okay. So absent of you giving me justification for the ethics which underpin socialism, I'm meeting my burden as a debater. That's the issue.
What? No, you haven't. I could just say why over and over again. And on your view, you wouldn't have met your justification.
Yeah, wait, what? Say that again?
Why?
No, not why. The fucking statement.
Why?
Okay, yeah, cool. You're doing the thing. So look, I'm just going to ask again.
Yeah, look, I think I...
What's the argument in favor of utilitarianism?
The argument that I have in favor of utilitarianism, I could give you it, right? But just for the record, you understand there's no contradiction first?
What do you think? What do you think my contradiction is? Just go for it.
Your contradiction was that I'm positing that it is and that it isn't justified.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I think
answer my question.
I think there is a contradiction.
What's okay? Your contradiction being that I think is not justified?
No, not that you think that you're positing.
What's the argument that I'm positing that?
That you're positing that it's not justified?
Yeah.
Refusing to give me a proof.
What's the argument that is justification for that belief?
That you're refusing to give me a proof?
Yeah, what's the argument for that?
You've refused to give me one?
Yeah, that's a circular argument, isn't it?
What the fuck? No, it's not fucking premisely circular. It's not deductive.
Yes, it is.
I mean, like,
I am refusing to give you an argument because of the fact that I'm refusing to give you an argument.
No, I didn't say you were refusing because of that. No, I didn't mean that as an explanation.
Yes, you did. Look, oh my god, he's freaking out. This is hilarious. Look, Liam, the point being, look, you understand there's just not a justification for me positing a lack of it.
No, you gotta let Liam finish.
Actually, yeah, what you just tried was so fucking bad that it was so obvious. I did not say that the reason you haven't posited it was because you just didn't posit it. That's not what I fucking said, okay? What I said was, it's the case that you haven't posited it. And you're like, oh, why? Like, why? And I was like, why what? It's like, oh, why haven't I posited it? I don't know. I don't know why you haven't posited it. I think you haven't posited it just because you don't want to. Okay?
Perfect. You said I don't know now. That's a different answer than you gave.
Okay, look, I didn't say...
Your answer is I don't know, so you're unjustified. Oh, go ahead.
Again, you know...
Go ahead.
You gotta let Liam finish.
Yeah, I got you.
Look, I was making note of the fact that you have not posited it, okay? And then by you not positing it, that's going to conclude, right, that I'm meeting my burden of rejoinder, okay? Like the argument that you did not, like, as to why you did posit that it wasn't justified is not deductively circular. It's validated by the perceptual judgment of the fact that you just haven't fucking given one, bro.
Look,
you have not given me justification for
socialism. Yeah, what's the justification that I haven't given you one?
The justification that you have not given me one?
Yeah, that I haven't given you a justification.
There's nothing in my perceptual awareness which has indicated to me that you have.
What's the justification that's the case?
What's the justification that there's nothing in my perceptual awareness? Reflection of my perceptual awareness.
Yeah, what's the justification that justifies that?
That just like awareness of because I'm directly aware of the fact.
You don't see the idea here? The idea is that I can keep asking you for further justifications, and then you'll have to. Then, for your view, you have to infinitely give justifications. Otherwise, it's the case you imply the negation, right? I'm telling you.
Nope,
I'm telling you, I can give you. Look, honestly, I feel like it's really clear at this point that there's no contradiction. So I'm fine if you just want to talk about my justifications.
Determination satisfied. Determination satisfied. There's not a fucking infinite. Yeah, the determination satisfied because I'm meeting the burden of.
Sorry, what's the justification? And you've made the burden of rejoinder.
Okay, guys, can we hold on? Just to get past this, and I'm sorry, but this is going to be one that we do have to have form of a republic here.
Yeah.
Liam, name 3 people, or let's just say Liam, name 1 person. And Sinthe, name 1 person who you would like to vote, and then I'm going to choose a number between 1 and 10, and whatever that is. Like, you guys that's who wins in this point. And we're going to end the debate here because we've got so far away from it, and I think we could just sit here and go on forever. I want you guys to get paid tonight, and I also want to hold one more debate. So,
Okay.
Can we do closing statements real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Liam, you open first. You want to do the closing statement first?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, look, I think capitalism's moral. My reason for thinking capitalism is moral, again, is just that freedom is going to be the best system because it's minimal. It's going to be the best moral ideal for a political system because it's minimally consistent with the usage of force. Examples like violating someone's autonomy is not okay. It's most consistent with your flourishing, whatever. You don't have to hold to like whole rational, selfish thing to believe that it's the most minimally consistent. I just don't think you should violate those rights. That's moral ideal. Sinthe has not given a positive argument in favor of utilitarianism. The ethics of socialism are justified from the moral ideal of utilitarianism as presented in this round. If she hasn't given an argument in favor of utilitarianism, then by definition, born of gender is met because there's no burden of proof. I'm the other person who's giving a positive argument in favor of anything. It's just gonna default vote AF presumption. Yeah.
Sure. So, my closing statement. So, the end of the debate was kind of cancer, and I apologize for all the people who had to listen to that. But the core of the issue there is Divinity's argument against utilitarianism is there was contradiction. It was super clear that Divinity could not provide the contradiction. Divinity failed miserably on that point. In regards to the earlier points, in regards to capitalism's morality, it's not the case that Divinity gave any arguments in favor of capitalism being moral. Instead, Divinity redefined what moral means, and then argued against basically a straw man of the other person's position, and wasn't able to engage. The primary argument given against capitalism that Divinity had never once engaged with it at all empirically was that the idea of capitalism and the promotion of a system as such leads to the extinction of humanity if it's not dealt with by move to socialism, a move to a democratic economy. Liam gave no counter argument to that. Super clear there. There was overall, I think, not any counter argument given towards the socialist position. Liam didn't ever concede that there was no contradiction, and so we never moved to the justifications. But I'm totally fine with in some future debate or something on utilitarianism if Liam wants to ask for the justification, as opposed to making this ridiculous false claim there's some contradiction entailed by my view. But that's all
right, guys. So remember, the point here isn't to vote with what you believe. Oh, I just believe capitalism, or oh, I just believe socialism. The point here is to vote to determine who it is that won this debate. So I'm going to post Sinthe or Divinity. S for Sinthe, D for Divinity.
I'm voting for both.
If you vote for both, you're booted.
Well, it's not.
I'm voting for neither.
It's not going to count in favor. Yeah, it's not going to count in favor if like you don't vote or you vote twice. So it's not really going to matter. Voting D for tie, for real, bro. W.
Yeah, we are voting, boy. S for Sinthe or D for Divinity.
This is the fucking alien, bro. How did you do that? Stop! How did you do that?
Super score reaction.
I wasted a super react just for this.
That's fucking crazy,
Hype
bro.
up the channel with super reactions.
Did you fucking do it twice? I want to do one. Yo, is that fucking Mexico?
It's the Iranian flag.
Mexico, yeah, Mexico.
You only get a limited amount of them. Don't you?
Hey, I used my fucking
Guys,
super one. I used the super
we
one.
need to get over the first past the post here. So what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 23 people. We need somebody to get to 12.
Can we just cut our losses and say like end it now? Like.
All right. So the poll shows Divinity has won. And yeah, folks, Divinity, Sinthe, really appreciate this debate. Yeah, I will. Divinity, if you could do me a favor and DM me your Cash App, I will send you your $50.
Yeah, Venmo.
Do I have Venmo? Yes, I don't prefer Venmo though.
I got banned on Cash App.
Why?
I can't actually
You're
talk
scamming
about,
people.
I actually
100% you're a
legally
scammer.
can't talk about why I got banned on
You were
Cash App.
definitely scamming people.
No, I wasn't. I put like a little like funny thing on Cash App, and Cash App thought I was doing something illegal.
No, you like tagged everyone on Discord and you're like, look, send me $30 and I'll send 60 back.
I am
didn't send anyone money back
for
at all.
real.
Send
I
him
am
the.
actually, that's over. I
Yeah,
am
me
actually
too.
for real banned on Cash App though. Does Venmo work though?
Wait, why are you paying Liam for this? I thought you were paying
Yeah,
everyone else
to
but
pay you.
Liam.
To pay you. Reparations or something.
By the way, this event was crowdfunded. So
Hold on, what?
I just think that for money is crazy.
What was the question?
So does Venmo actually work though? Because I bro can't use
Yeah,
that.
Venmo will work. Venmo will work.
Sorry, man,
Would you
my
ask
person's on Venmo,
Mustafa?
too.
Oh, nothing. It's not relevant anymore.
Yeah. Every winner gets
someone else getting paid for listening. All right, let's go.